All right. Good. Welcome. We've got Nick Davis here. So Nick is running a 7-day startup called Theme Valet, and they help startups put together a WordPress site very quickly. It's something that looks nice and looks professional. And one of the things I've noticed with a lot of 7-day startup businesses is finding a theme is one thing, but then when it comes to actually sort of putting it on their site and, adding a bit of content or tweaking something or adding a logo in, it just, at some point, it just all sort of goes to shit. So having a service like Theme Valet makes a lot of sense. And Nick's helped me set up the theme on the 7-day startup site, which was just seamless and works really well, looks really nice. And the business Theme Valet has been going really well too, Nick. It sounds like you've been working with a bunch of people and it's going well. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great to be on it. Real privilege.
So I guess if you just start with a bit of a background on WordPress and the themes, and then literally if anyone wants to come on and ask a direct question about themes or about WordPress, then feel free to do that. And I'll prioritize the ones you call in over the ones on the right-hand side, but you can ask on the right-hand side if you want. So,
cool. Okay. So I think most people on here are probably familiar with the concept of WordPress. So I won't spend like 20 minutes talking about it, but just maybe 30 seconds in case anyone's not like 100% sure. So as Dan recommends in his book, like WordPress is obviously a great way to start a website like really easily, like pretty cheaply. And there's a tiny bit of a learning curve. Obviously, others, stuff like Theme Valet wouldn't exist. But you can figure out yourself if you really, really had to. You could figure out yourself, or you could easily reach out, obviously, to services like us, or there's literally probably millions of people that could kind of help you set up the site. So it's basically a guy I know put that very well. Is like basically if you can edit like a Word document, once you've got your WordPress site set up, you can probably edit the text and stuff on there yourself. So it's not doing coding and things like that. But I think for me, and obviously the real point of this call, and actually one of the real aha moments when I probably started playing around with WordPress in about 2010 was you could get all these off-the-shelf kind of themes like designs, which is perfect for 7-day startup type businesses because obviously you can pay different prices, but I think if you're going to get a really good kind of custom site made, you get what you pay for, and you're looking at several $1,000s really to get like a decent site, or going up to way higher than that. Compare that to say you can buy a WordPress theme, like a design off the shelf, $50, $100, plug it in, get it up and running, and you have a pretty damn good looking site in less than a day, and you're ready to roll, and you've got some credibility. Obviously the most important thing is to launch, but at the same time, design does matter to some degree, and particularly more into a friend of mine yesterday who's a lawyer, and he's doing like a smaller kind of niche site to try and bring in some business related to weddings, and they've bought a really nice domain name for it, and they just want to do something simple just to kind of test it out. But for them, they're lawyers, they need, they can't just have like it's okay maybe you're throwing up an ebook and it's like just your friends, you say, hey guys, I'm testing this idea, but something like law or healthcare or all these kind of things, you do need, it's got to be some kind of respectability as a minimum in the design. So that's where grabbing these themes is great. It really isn't expensive. I'll recommend if people want some, I have no affiliation, but I recommend some places people can go to maybe buy some themes later. I think all of them you can grab a theme for under $100, and there's some fantastic designs. I mean, even our site, we get lots of nice compliments on it, but it was the theme that cost under $100.
Yeah.
It's still up and running.
Yeah. The other cool thing that there's a thread in the group today about different platforms to use for their page for the 7-day startup, and there's a bunch of platforms where you can set up really quick landing pages, which are handy, and I think in some cases that's a good idea. But I also think if you can make a little bit of an extra effort and set things up, it's really not too expensive to set up WordPress, and the scalability you get out of using WordPress is almost worth the extra effort, because like you really can build a website. Like the website that I launched WP Curve with, which took me a couple of hours to build, is still the same website that I have now, and I'm getting hundreds of thousands of people to and making a lot of money from. We haven't had to change platforms. We've changed themes. We've spent a lot more money on custom designing themes since then. But it is actually nice to build something in a platform that you know can scale, especially if you can figure out a way to do it without spending too much time and money. So I think for those guys in the challenge, you're going to make the extra effort to set up WordPress in a self-hosted environment and get one of these themes, then this is going to be a good session for them. So if I think going through the themes is a good idea because people will watch the recording and tomorrow they're going to be setting up themes on their site. So if we can delve into that, that's cool. If people have questions, feel free to call in now or feel free to leave a comment on the right-hand side. If it's about WordPress or about themes, then do that. Otherwise, let's start the conversation about different themes that you like and where to get them and what you recommend.
Okay. I think if we've got a second, maybe just like a couple of, I think we kind of touched on it, but maybe like a couple of factors to kind of consider overall before going into a specific one. I won't go into detail, but I think the first thing, obviously, for like a 7-day startup is, and I know you said quite rightly, don't stress if something takes slightly longer or if you're out of order of the sequence, that's fine. But at the same time, we want to be able to execute it quite quickly. So I think one of the key things with a theme is you do need to be able to set up in theory in a day, but it's not something that's going to really bog you down. It's not going to be like a super steep learning curve. The other thing is, as I said, is even if you're just throwing an idea up, think about if you've got a choice of two themes and one design is clearly better than the other, then I'd say go for that. I would say go for the stronger design over a theme, say packed with features. You get a lot of themes, kind of the theme that does everything, but you're launching a 7-day startup. You don't need to do everything, but the most important thing is grabbing someone's attention and making a good impression, and not having, like, I know you talk about this a lot as well, too much clutter and stuff like that. It's best just to kind of keep it simple, and obviously, again, going back to the fact that you want to set it up quickly. I know there's lots of themes that come now with page builders, things like that, and that's quite cool because you could kind of do stuff without a developer, a designer. But again, if you're throwing up really fast, it's probably just best to find one with like a layout and colors and stuff that you pretty much like in the first place. It's one of those things because you could spend, I'm sure we've all done it, you could probably spend a day like fiddling with it and telling yourself you're making progress, but really you're just delaying launching it and asking people stuff. Which I'm sure, we've all done. I'd say I think any theme you buy now should do this, but just to really hammer home the point, it needs to look good on mobile phones and tablets, because how many people, I don't know, lots of sites, maybe 50% plus of traffic is not from desktop computers anymore. That's obviously really easy to test though. Nearly, I think every theme you buy has like a demo page. You can just load the demo. If you're not already on your phone, go and check it on your phone. Make sure it looks okay, because people are, people are gonna, not maybe judge it, but kind of subconsciously, people have reactions to stuff. Also on speed, if it just takes ages to load, if it's really bloated, but like 20 sliders and things like that. So that, I would say that's kind of like my immediate things. There's some kind of more maybe medium term stuff, but maybe we won't get into that. I'll get into that later. You might want to think about. So some kind of options just to throw out there quickly. And I've deliberately gone with trying to give you like a range. I think the first one is still a great shout. It's the one you mentioned in the book, elegantthemes.com. I'll explain why. First of all, I think the current price is $69. I think it was the first kind of theme sort of purchase I made getting into WordPress. And I think at the time I bought it, it was like $39 for like $50.
Well, yeah, I remember it being that cheap too.
Blew my mind. And the irony is I'd spent about a month before that. I don't know how I got so head in the sand about it. Just trying to like code like a theme myself or get downloaded like a template and I was launching this book at the time. And then I discovered Elegant Themes. I was like, I could just use this on as many websites as I want. It looks okay. If you're like a bleeding edge designer watching this, you might look at Elegant Themes and maybe be a bit snobby about it, but like, who cares? Like, there's a lot of good and very product focused themes. If you look particularly some of their recent ones, it's like a top header with point 1, point 2, point 3 why you should buy the product. So yeah, it's $69. It's technically yearly, but you could probably just buy it once. And if you're a 7-day startup, and I'm sure by then you'd have enough traction in a year to to maybe invest more in a website anyway. So I recommend that. They've got over 300,000 customers, so you kind of know you're not buying into like a one-man sort of shop.
It's a good thing. Just you mentioned the like that conversion part of it. It's a good thing to think about, like when you get an existing theme or you get an existing platform to look after this stuff for you. Like if you think about something like Lead Pages or Samcart for a shopping cart, part of what you're getting is how it looks, but also you mentioned speed. So part of what you're getting is design. Part of what you're getting is developer expertise to build a theme that is going to be fast. But also what you're getting is often you're getting a theme that is going to convert very well. So if you look at something like Lead Pages or Samcart, those pages are designed to convert much more than any page your local web developer is going to build for you. So if you can keep those three things in mind, if you're choosing a theme that's going to be fast, it's going to be good looking, it's going to convert really well because of where things are laid out and where it says to put testimonials and all of that, working on mobile, that kind of stuff, then you're really getting a whole lot of value for $60 or $70 that you might not be seeing if you're just looking at just the way it looks.
Yeah, no, I think that's very, very true. I think maybe I could do just check a couple of questions. Maybe I'll just run through my list really fast, and maybe we can go into.
Yeah, I can answer that question about the theme that converts later on. Maybe not in a WordPress theme context, but I can talk about some of the conversion pages and the elements and stuff that work.
Okay, so I'll run from a list. I'll try to go into too much detail because you can easily go to. But I'll send a link where people can get the notes if they wanted this afterwards. I should have said that right at the top. In case you're furiously trying to remember stuff or make notes, no worries. I'll send you the list.
Is that a public thing you sent me?
That link is
Chloe or whatever it was.
Yeah. You can if people want to email me, I'll send them that link. I think there's like
a Facebook group.
Oh yeah, sure. So there's like an email opt-in on my site, but you don't need to opt in. I'll stick it on the Facebook group, or you can email me, or If you want to copy paste it in the group, actually, you should have done that before the call. It's my bullet point list really, and it's a ton of recommendations. It's kind of the logic I would go for. It's the same thing if you call me kind of as a consultant to say, oh, what should I think about in a theme? It's the kind of the same advice I give you. Just to rattle through a few others, studiopress.com, kind of one of the original guys run by a guy called Brian Garner. I've got a huge amount of respect for. He's a really great designer, entrepreneur. You should check him out anyway. They're more expensive. You can probably pay about $100 for a theme. That's the one that Theme Valet runs on. It's one called Altitude, which is extremely popular. I get loads of people emailing us saying, "Oh, can we just have like the theme that you've got?" They've got over 150,000 customers. I would say two quick things. They're very strong on that kind of minimal design themes. I've heard some people say, on the negative, it's almost too far along for them. It's too, they're like, oh, there's too much white space. There's too much. I think it's one of those things like a couple of years you'll look back and it will be more like mainstream. I'd say they're a bit ahead of the curve on design. They push design maybe a bit more. So some people will like that. Some people won't. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think there's another one, if you like that kind of minimal style, themezilla.com is another very big shop. They've got over 40,000 customers. And then this is kind of subset of themes. There's a really big market though, kind of self-titled feminine themes. That's how they describe what they sell. I've got pinkandpress.com, prettydarncute.com. Again, these are my notes, so if you don't worry about typing. And they're just solid. I know pretty much every one of these ones I'm recommending, I know the people behind anyway. Very good, like $50 to sort of $75 a theme. If you maybe doing, I don't know, so a more feminine type business, like I said, that's how they describe it. Check out their themes and do some great stuff. I think we have to mention ThemeForest, themeforest.net. I'm guessing they're the biggest seller of WordPress themes. I don't officially know that, but I'm sure they are.
I talked to their founder a couple of days ago, actually, on Skype.
Yeah, they're trying some interesting things, doing some interesting stuff. I know Invata, they launched like a stock photography site, I think, as well, like a couple of months ago.
They've got about 10 different sites. I think that they're turning over tens of millions of dollars a year. A tremendously successful Aussie company, self-funded company too.
I think they're moving part or all of their company structure to the States or something. Anyway, that's not really relevant. So yeah, Theme Forest. I mean, the Pro is probably the biggest selection of themes, because I'm sure they're the biggest shop. I'm sure they are. I'd say the Con. I don't want to get too, because I understand a bit of development. I've done WordPress development myself, and people can get kind of snobby about stuff. And the point is not to find the most perfect coded WordPress theme. The point is to execute and have a nice design. You could find some themes on there, like when we talked about right at the top, maybe not overcomplicating things by getting themes with like a million features. And you might think, well, I'm not going to use all those features. That's fine. But sometimes those features are kind of, it just makes your theme like a bit slower. So as I mentioned, like there are some really solid, excellent themes on there. I could point you to some if you email me. But I would just say, again, don't overcomplicate things. And I'll just rattle through these. I think I have to mention Woo Themes. If you guys have heard of WooCommerce, I'm sure it's the #1 WordPress e-commerce plugin. Mm-hmm. I think that's it's a really good platform to go. There's lots of other platforms I use as well. I think it's a really solid, like all-round platform, particularly from maybe a business that's getting a bit more mature. Maybe it's not the simplest or cheapest to absolutely execute on, and I'd be happy to recommend. I'm sure you can recommend some things. You can, when you're not paying maybe $400, $500 for plugins just to get started. We definitely don't want to do that. But maybe if you're getting a bit more mature, it's a really solid platform. But I mentioned Woo Themes, which is their themes kind of arm of the business. Because obviously, if you're going to go with WooCommerce, it's extremely likely that one of the themes from Woo Themes is going to play nicer with it. The only thing I would say is they're really heavy concentrating on the commerce side of the business now, because it's just much more successful for them. It's a much better business. So maybe in the long term, if you want a company that's themes are our #1, maybe someone else, because they're definitely not as focused on that. I'm going to be a bit cheeky here, but I have to give a shout. Lean Themes, leanthemes.co is, I only mention it because it's something I co-founded with an amazing designer called Derry Burkett. And if you look at the themes, I think they look good. It's all because of him and not because of me. But if you check out some of the inner pages on 7-Day Startup, I'll talk about maybe that site a bit more in a minute. You can see one of our themes on there. That's kind of like a minimal style. And then I think just want to end on Optimized Press. So I think, Dan, you mentioned that. And this is maybe something we can just cover even now or in a few minutes. So Optimized Press, I think it's from $97, which is pretty like solid for doing a 7-day startup launch basis. So Optimized Press is a great way of doing. You can get it as a theme and as a plugin. And if you're not sure what the difference is, I'll go into that in a minute. But Optimized Press, it's a great way. You can just install it and set up landing pages and stuff. I think it has membership kind of stuff. If you look at 7daystartup.com, right, it's got a lot of Optimized Press going on. At least last time I checked.
I use Optimized Press for the course landing page, the 7-Day Startup Challenge landing page. I'm using Optimized Press Member for my MVP this week for the Pro membership. I just emailed them this morning actually to try and get a discount for the group. So hopefully they come through and give us a discount. But I love Optimized Press. I think it's brilliant. Not perfect. None of these things are perfect. There's always a little bit of compromise. It's a pretty clunky sort of thing, Optimized Press, but it's. I think to sort of tap into one of the questions that are coming up on the right-hand side around like why use WordPress compared to, or why is WordPress more complicated than something like Squarespace or Weebly? I think it comes down to WordPress is fully customizable. So yes, you can go start a website and set up lead pages or set up Squarespace or something like that, but you're going to have something that looks pretty much like what everyone else has. And at some point, it's going to make sense for you not to have that. It might not make sense now as a 7-day startup. It might make sense, 100% sense for you to have a Squarespace site that you can get up in a few minutes and looks nice and does the job. I still generally think, though, that if you can have something that's going to scale and it's not going to cost you much extra to set up and you can make the effort to set it up, then WordPress gives you that 100% scale and 100% customizability. So that's what I think the benefits of WordPress. You can do something like Weebly. You can't do much with something like Weebly. You can set up a little page. That's about it. Squarespace you can do a little bit more with, but you really can't do something like like what you can do with Optimized Press. For example, within a few hours, I can set up Stripe and PayPal. I can have one-click upsells with Samcart on a landing page that will out-convert anything that I can design in Squarespace or Weebly if I pay Samcart, because that's a paid product and not inside WordPress. And then I can have a completely customized landing page in Optimized Press. I can have pop-up opt-ins, not a pop-up box, but like a I don't know how to say it without saying the lead box is the technical term Lead Pages uses, or overlay optimizer, which is like a button on the site instead of an email box, and that will convert a lot better. And I can do that because I've got 100% customizability with WordPress. And those little things in the first week or so, maybe not going to make a huge difference, but some of those things can literally double your revenue or your conversions. And as a business, those things just become total game changers. So to me, as a business, you want 100% freedom and flexibility. And that's why I would choose something like WordPress. And I think that also probably explains for the most part why WordPress is more confusing and complicated than some of the self-hosted options. Although I also think WordPress could do a better job. It really hasn't. It hasn't innovated a whole lot in the time I've been using it. It is still probably too complex, more complex than it has to be.
Yeah, I think that's true. I know they launched, again, I mean, this is still kind of niche at the moment, but they launched like a Mac app. I don't know if they've done it on Windows yet, but you can download the other day. So you're accessing the WordPress site for this app, and it's a lot slicker. It takes away a lot of the extra kind of fluff around. So you're editing a post and there's like stuff all around you. If you go on this, it's kind of lean, clean. You probably wouldn't set up your site with it, but once your site is set up, it's a much nicer way to just update and edit the content. If you just Google WordPress Mac app, it blew up on Product Hunt as well. If you follow that site, so that's kind of a nicer way to manage it yourself. You can even connect it with like your phone and stuff as well if you really need to make an update on the run. But yeah, I would agree. There is a bit of a learning curve. It's kind of like conflict, isn't it? Because we're telling people, just launch. But at the same time, you have to have a tiny bit of consideration for what if this does jump, if this does go from a 1 week to 1 month to like a whatever business. You don't just want to redo it all. So yeah, there's a tiny conflict, but I think just extra couple of hours and setting up the WordPress site. I mean, people start. You can please ask me on the group. I try and jump in as much as I can. Feel free. I will whatever question you've got. If I don't know, I say I don't know. But most kind of beginner stuff I could probably help with, so just hit me up anytime. But seriously, on Twitter, Snapchat, I'm rocking Snapchat now if you prefer. Thanks to you, Dan. you and Gary V getting me into Snapchat.
Yeah. I was also just going to say, so that's my position on it. But at the same time, if this is the thing that's holding you back from launching your business, then by all means use whatever platform you want to and worry about it later. But if you're prepared to put in a couple of hours and you can see the benefits, then I think it's worth it. Especially if you can use one of these themes. And if you check out Nick's site, I put a link in the thing below. I mean, you look at a site like that and it looks like a couple of years ago, you would have had to pay a shitload of money to have a site set up, look like that, and built on a platform that was 100% customizable and scalable. So what you can achieve in a short amount of time is pretty impressive. And I think it's worth it if you can put the time in.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we've had so many compliments from that on that theme. I mean, it's no real credit to us. It's all credit to Studio Press who designed it. And I mean, literally, you could probably set that up. Obviously we've added a bit more complexity onto it now, but 2 hours really. 2 hours you could get that, and something that looks like good.
Okay, so we've got a couple of questions here. I'll start with this one from Hack My Honeymoon. Did you want to have a crack at that one, Nick, or do you want me to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. I might have a go. There are. Okay, so you've got a site. You want to make it mobile responsive after it's created. Okay, again, this might sound in conflict to what I said earlier, but if you've got into 3-4 hours into your 7-day startup like launch page and you're like, this isn't mobile responsive now, the first thing I'd say is it's not the absolute end of the world. I wouldn't go back and redo. Just if you're still in the point of you just want to put a buy button and see if people give you money. Okay, fine. I would just say see it through to the end of the week or end of next week and then think about it. There are plugins which could do kind of, it's not technically the same as mobile responsive. So I said the old days, but some sites still do it. There was, kind of the desktop version of the site, and there's, the mobile version of the site, and the website could detect, and it would show you that specific version. So you can install plugins which can give people a quick mobile version of the site. We'll strip out a lot of that stuff and just boil it down to your content. Obviously, occasionally might be small kind of compatibility issues with your theme, but 99% of the time it's fine. So you can try if you go to WordPress.org/plugins, there's a bunch of free plugins that you can check. I think I would have to double check. I think maybe even Jetpack, which is kind of WordPress's own kind of plugin, which does 20 things. I think they have. I don't use it on my sites, obviously, because they're mobile responsive out of the box. But I think that has something as well, which might make your site a bit more mobile friendly. So that's called Jetpack. You do need to register for that plugin to get it to work, but it's free. And I mean, that's a good all round plugin anyway. Actually, if you need, particularly if you're not kind of know anything about any code or stuff like that, and you just want a bunch of kind of extra features, it's pretty well done. So I would say that. Anything you want to add to that, Dan? Maybe.
I'd be hesitant to use plugins like that for that mobile responsive stuff. I think I would love to know why your theme's not responsive. I think if you've bought a theme, it will be responsive if you've bought it from any reputable source. If you've paid someone to build a theme and they haven't made it responsive these days, I think that's unforgivable. I mean, it's 2016. We've had phones for 20 years. It's just not. It's not forgivable to have a website now that like a new theme that you've paid money for that completely doesn't work on a mobile. Having said that, you can redevelop themes. You can put code on them to make them mobile responsive. In a lot of cases, it would be a smaller job to replace your theme with one that already was mobile responsive than to completely recode an existing theme.
Yeah.
But with WordPress, you can do whatever you want. I mean, the theme we use on wpcurve.com is responsive. We built the whole thing from scratch. Custom design, custom theme from scratch, and you can really build whatever you want to build if you're prepared to pay for it. But yeah, I think it is these days. I think it's so important now. I mean, for a while there, 5 or 6 years ago, everyone was doing mobile. And I'm like, I don't know, most of my traffic's from the computer. But now it's not like that anymore. It's just everyone's on their phone.
Yeah, I'd probably just clarify what I said. I would say. Again, it would when I kind of go to sites and it's using one of these plugins, I'm generally like, but I would say if it's really sort of bugging you, my answer was kind of, if you're so embedded with this theme and you're just stressed. But again, I would say, part of the points of WordPress is, and if you've chosen a good theme, it'll work this way, is if you've put, your about page in, your contact page in, or your blog post, and you change theme, everything shouldn't just completely break. You might have to reformat probably the home page, but all the inner pages should still flow fine. So, as Dan says, it shouldn't be such a big deal to get another theme. And if you've got, something like elegant themes, probably some of their older themes, for example, they might not be responsive, but you could easily just download one of the other themes. You've already bought the whole collection, just switch it out and try something else. Hopefully it helps. But yeah, it's pretty unforgivable, really.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good answer. So we've got. Could you describe a theme that converts? Did you want to have a crack at that, or because I brought that up, I'm happy to answer that?
Maybe, particularly because of what you're working on at the moment with your sort of 7-day starter reboot. Maybe that's the best one for you. I can always chip in.
Yeah. So, okay, let me answer this a few ways. So, if you're looking at a WordPress theme that converts, if you look at like Nick's site, for example, that's going to convert purely on the basis of just a well-designed theme. I mean, there's so much about conversions has to do with credibility, and design has a massive impact on credibility. So if you go to a website and it looks amazing, you just think the business is legit. With conversion, like, people are just trying to see whether or not your site is legit. That's what they're trying to do. It's themevalet.com. Katrina. So you go to a website and you go to a site with a nice theme, and they've got a bunch of testimonials, and they've got logos from places they were featured. They've got customers that are raving about them. They've got a really nice design that looks professional, really nice professional images, all of the information you need. All of that together is going to convert much better than a crappy theme. So if you're going to pay someone to design and develop a theme for you from scratch, you better be very confident that they're going to include all of those elements that you take for granted when you buy a really nice looking theme. So that's part of my answer. The other part would be little things like, if you look at Samcart, for example, when you install Samcart on your site, which is Samcart's a platform outside of WordPress, but you just have it as your buy page. It has a bunch of templates in there. Optimized Press is the same. It has a bunch of templates in there that are designed to convert. So Samcart, for example, will have things like down the right-hand side, it'll have these are the bonuses you get when you buy this item. It'll have a one-page checkout. So it won't have 5 steps in the checkout like something like a shopping cart would. It'll just have a one-page checkout. Right-hand side, it'll have bonuses. When you buy, it'll have the ability to upsell with one click, which can be a huge revenue booster. If you can sell them on something and then they literally have to click one button without doing anything else to buy the next version of that, those kind of elements you can have in a theme or in a platform can have a massive boost on conversions. So another example would be the overlay optimizer. So if you go to 7daystartup.com, you can see my button. If you click that button, it just brings up a little opt-in box. That's what I talk about when I talk about the overlay optimizer or the lead box. That's actually a lead box on that page. Again, it's just someone has designed the theme and that process so it converts. When you sign up to lead pages, you're getting a process that they know through thousands or probably 30,000 customers and God knows how many websites and page views, what converts better than others. So you're getting that as part of the thing. And if you get a developer design and build you something, you better hope that they know about those conversion elements when they do it, because otherwise your search, even though you've got a custom site, it's not going to convert as well as something off the shelf.
Yeah, I think it's very true. And if people are watching this and I've actually, we can talk about this maybe a bit more, but people watching this and they've outgrown a theme and they want to say, well, what is the next step? Because it can be kind of scary if you've gone from $100 on a theme to dropping a few thousand. There's some very kind of solid sort of designer developers I know I could happily recommend to people who'll design with that in mind and not just make it look pretty.
Yeah, they're actually, it's very, very hard to do. It's very hard to do well, and often it'll cost a lot of money. And a lot of the time you were just better off having a really nicely designed theme to start with. But if you're down the track, like with WP Curve, a couple of years in, we spent a lot of money on the redesign and we're happy with what we came up with, but I'd never spend that kind of money on a new business.
Yeah. Just seeing a few questions on the side. Someone asking, so I don't know if you want to pick out the questions.
No, I'll answer that at the end if we don't have any more questions around WordPress. I'll come back to that one. With the actual themes, was there any more in your list that are ones that you often recommend?
In terms of theme shops or specific themes or both?
Maybe specific themes.
Okay. Let me pull this up. I think we've got a list in one of the groups, and there's a blog post on my site.
We got it in the pro group. But I can copy those links out, or get your post and put it into the free group while the challenge is going.
So here's some ones I would say you want. Okay, so the first one I mentioned, I really like. As you say, let's talk about conversion. Let's talk about the stuff that matters. So the first one I really like is Altitude. It's called Altitude Pro, and it's the one by Studio Press. So just to confirm, that's the one we're using on Theme Valet. I have a lot of people they love that. They like using that. It seems to convert, reasonably well. I think because the theme is designed in the first place to you can't really make a mess of the homepage. It's all done nicely. There's one, here we go. So here's the ones I recommend. This was a couple of months back. I probably could add to this list. There's a nice one I like called Story, Storey. That's by Themezilla. I think all the themes on Themes that are really nicely designed. Most of them there's a few kind of funky themes, but most of them are kind of producty, kind of servicey. I think you get some, say on Studio Press, there are some awesome themes, but a lot of them are what I would call blog first themes. So you just land on the page and it's the blog, and you can kind of tweak it, customize it, but I don't think, if you're doing a 7-day startup, it has to be some kind of product or service page. So Story, I think, is quite nice. Maybe if I copy paste the link, people can see.
I think the very first theme I put on WP Curve, which admittedly looking back on wasn't great, but it did the job, was a Themezilla one, and it was like $39 or something. It was very cheap.
Yeah, I think it's Orman Clark, the design. I don't think Themezilla is his number one focus now. It's just some other stuff, but it's one of the early innovators on themes. Does some really nice stuff. I mentioned, I think Pink and Press. It's got some nice one. Like I said, if it's kind of more feminine style, they've got one I like called Sprinkle. That's on this list. It's kind of confusing because they've got two sites. They've got one site called restored316.com, and they've got one site called Pink and Press, which is like an aggregator of multiple kind of feminine themes. They've got some really nice like product first themes, I call them. So look at this one, say Sprinkle, for example. It's just, for example, it's got a very high up on the page, like opt-in box. Nearly all their themes work with, say, WooCommerce, like out of the box. So that's kind of important if you maybe want that in there. There's another one I like, maybe not so sort of producty, but called Swank on this list by Pretty Darn Cute. It's more kind of lifestyle-y. I think that's nice. If you need, I don't know if it's relevant or not, if you just need like a coming soon theme, there's a lot of them around, but then I'm not sure. I suppose if it's absolute day one and you've just bought the domain name, maybe put a coming soon theme up. But I think, as you say in the book, well, it's not, why not just put up, give me your email address. You could do Countdown plus give me your email address. There's a nice one I found called Hatch. It's by a company called Themedy. That's one of the nicer ones. It's got like a notify me. So it's a bit of a balance between like a countdown, launching on in 7 days and gathering stuff. Just trying to think.
And again, Optimized Press, if you do fork out for something like Optimized Press, it can do all of that as well. But then I've never used Optimized Press as the main theme for a site, only for landing pages and things, or the homepage. So typically I'd want to be getting both, like a nice looking theme and Optimized Press. But
yeah, I think that's maybe a quick point worth making. Is I think we talked about earlier about the theme that does everything, and obviously again the most important thing is to launch and start getting feedback on the idea and hopefully even money. But we also talked why bother with WordPress when you can say do Squarespace, but maybe the learning curve is slightly less. Because there are these extra things you need to think about. And one thing that maybe confuses people is what is the difference between a theme and a plugin? And without going into all the long technical detail, the theme basically is, and I'll explain why this really matters in a moment. The theme is basically your design, how everything looks. And as we talked about in answer to another question, you should theoretically be able to switch themes. It shouldn't just completely kill your site. You might need to reconfigure some stuff, but if the theme is done well, your blog posts and stuff should still look fine. Your inner content pages, maybe just a home page you'll have to redo. A plugin is more like an app. A plugin, I can get I'm near an airport here, and I got this app the other day, and it shows me, because I can see the planes in the sky, and it shows me, this plane is going here. It's crazy. I can see this plane's going to Turkey. This plane took off from here. So you can, and there are thousands of plugins, lots of really good free ones as well for WordPress, and it will just extend make your website more powerful. So like Dan said, you could take Stripe, you could take credit card payments, you could do member stuff. Now, it's not a massive deal maybe for someone just launching, but just again, it's to kind of keep it in mind so you don't have to go back later. A lot of themes come with this stuff like bundled in. Like they actually, that is bundled in the theme, and okay, and I think I say in my notes, which people see later maybe, that if you really just don't care and you're just throwing up an idea and you know you're going to take this down or change it, if it has traction, I'm going to throw this away anyway and redo it. Okay, fine, it doesn't matter. But for most people, if your e-commerce kind of functionality is inside the theme itself and you want to change later, or say you're doing a directory website where people can pay you money to like list jobs and things, and that's in the theme, you're kind of stuck with that theme. You can't switch later. It might not sound like a massive deal at day one, but it will eventually come up and be a problem. And then you will have to pay someone to code the themes to make the customizations you want, but you'll still be stuck with it. Or you have to basically pay someone to transfer all that data and functionality over to like a new theme. So that's where, if you see Optimize Press as a theme or a plugin, as Dan says, I would generally say, unless you have extremely strong reason, go for a plugin version and pick the theme that you like. I mean, look at 7daystartup.com. That's exactly what he's done. It works great. And there's also things like page builders we talked about. A popular one is Divi by Elegant Themes. I personally find those a bit heavy, but if people want to use them, but I'm saying if you're going to use it, use the plugin version, not the theme version. If there's a choice, always go with a plugin, and you'll save yourself so much pain down the road.
Yeah, good advice. There's a question. Actually, I'll put it on here so you can see it. I don't know a huge amount about WooCommerce other than if you want more functionality around what shows on product pages, then getting one of the Woo themes that's meant to work with WooCommerce is probably your best bet. But do you have a better answer than that?
You know, if it lets you decorate product pages, to be honest, not really. It's like a really lame answer. I mean, I actually did just closed out a WooCommerce project for a client actually over Christmas period. You know, it was like a bigger site. I would, it's kind of what Dan says. It's really picking a theme where the WooCommerce stuff looks awesome in the first place. I know what you mean a bit. You're talking particularly product pages. For me, I'm not actually a massive fan of the checkout pages on WooCommerce. I find, and actually I probably will eventually, but on Theme Valet, we don't use WooCommerce, or another popular alternative is Easy Digital Downloads, which despite its name doesn't just do downloads, there's other things. I don't really like the checkout pages, and we're talking about conversion. And so I'm using a form plugin, which happens to take people's money, and because I want the order of the information a certain way to be easy for the client. I want to make it, plus I want to get the details that I need for us, because with time zones and everything, if they send the stuff and there's incomplete information, we're not quite yet on, we're increasing our time zone coverage, we're not quite on 24 hours yet. So if they send something that's incomplete information and then they go to sleep and then we wake up and then we see it, and then so I want to get the information the way we want. But to come back to the question, I really think look very, very, very hard at the theme you're buying, and there should be a demo link, and it should have an example of the WooCommerce functionality I'm talking about. But if I find I will go and look for a plugin afterwards to see if there's something nice. But otherwise, it's going to come down to just finding someone who can do small customization for you. But it's better to get the theme right in the first place if you're not too far down the road.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is think about some of your assumptions too, because I think people fall into the habit of just doing what other people have done, and like you think about something like a shopping cart. Think about how many products you've got, how people actually buy your products. I sell a lot of stuff on all my sites, and I've only set a shopping cart up on one site, and I think I probably don't even need it on that site. I think the way people buy stuff for my businesses is not via a shopping cart. So as an example, with the 7-Day Startup Challenge or the 7-Day Startup course, at the end, I'll send people an email and tell them about the pro version of the 7-Day Startup community. That'll be an email with a link to a landing page where you can buy on that page, literally clicking a button and putting your credit card in, no checkout pages, no shopping cart, no nothing, because that's how people buy. People are going to buy it directly from the email if they want to buy it. They're not going to randomly stumble across my site and, browse through a shopping cart like they were, at Woolworths, and then pick the products they want and, go through a 5-step checkout process to buy it. So Think about how you're driving traffic to your site, how you're going to get customers. If you're driving traffic from social media as well, and it's not like browsy type of product-driven stuff like, you know, jewelry or gifts. If it's like my situation where you're selling one thing or a couple of things, then a lot of the times it will convert a lot better if you don't have a shopping cart at all. So think about whether you need a shopping cart to start with, because that will restrict you a lot. And if you don't need a shopping cart, there are a lot of really good plugins. Nick's mentioned a few others I'd mention is I use one called WP Simple Pay, which is a really easy way to put Stripe onto your site. And I use that at the moment. I'll put a link to the membership, but don't sign up yet because I'll send it at the end of the challenge and it'll be cheaper. But if you look at this page, you can see how it works. That literally just one page with the button. You click the button, it brings up a little Stripe credit card. It's a free plugin. It's a paid, I think, $60 for the recurring. If you want like a few extra features like a recurring subscription, which my membership is. But that's a really easy way to get Stripe on your site, and that's going to convert way better than any shopping cart's going to convert. The other thing I'd say is Samcart. I've mentioned a few times. That's a one-page checkout with pages that are designed to convert. Does really sexy things like one-click upsells, which you can't do with WooCommerce. And if you're only selling a couple of things, quite often you're going to sell a lot more stuff by having 5 or 6 individual landing pages with upsells than you are by having a shopping cart with 5 or 6 different products and that whole process of registration and all the rest of it. So it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, nothing makes me hit the back button faster. And if it's something I really, really want, but if it was like a borderline thing and it's just 3-4 pages to jump from, just go. And I totally agree. I would, if we'd need a tiny bit more information usually from people on our site. But if I was doing, as you say, like a membership or something like that, I would just know, you could just have the pop-up, or you just want to get someone in there, and you can do all the onboarding if you need extra details and do that later.
Get their money first in that instance. It does depend on the business, but the other thing is just think about the way people's behavior is going. And like I think about my own behavior. I'm on mobile almost all the time. I'm on apps like Instagram that you don't even work on the desktop. Half the messaging apps and people tell me about stuff, I'm on my mobile. So if you're going through pages and pages and registrations and forms and all of that, it just doesn't work on mobile. So that model of shopping cart, I think, is for a lot of businesses just not going to be the best one to use. So worth thinking about. Katrina had a question. I don't think I understand this question well enough to answer it, but Katrina said, is there a good platform that converts well for blogs on WordPress? Katrina, do you mean converting like from content visitors to opt-ins for email opt-ins or for something else?
Maybe it's email opt-ins. Yeah. You guys did that pretty well on a WP Curve blog, don't you? You're quite good at that. And, you'll write a post and then you'll say, hey, for the checklist, go here, or for the Google Doc. I must have opted in on like 4 or 5 of the different things, and we're using some of them in Theme Valet. So
yeah, well, there's a few ways to do it. The way we do it at Curve is using lead pages. Lead pages and lead boxes is really good, but it's also not that cheap. It's like a recurring subscription. They have a product called Rapidology, which is which I think was based on an Elegant Themes product, like the forked on a product that Elegant Themes had, and that's a free version. I'm not exactly sure what functionality that has versus the paid version of lead pages, but I think it does do like sidebar opt-ins and in-post opt-ins and stuff like that, which can be useful. Did you have any other suggestions there?
Yeah, there's one I quite like, Opt-in Monster. I don't know if people have seen that. That's pretty cool. The guys behind it, pretty smart, good businessman as well. And a buddy of mine's using it on his site. He's had quite a bit of success with it, and you can plug it into stuff like I was going to say MailChimp, Rob Alling's one, and stuff like that. And ConvertKit, I know a lot of people are fans of, so that's quite nice. I don't think it's particularly. I bought it ages ago, and I'm sort of grandfathered in and stuff like that. So I got really lucky, but I don't think even if you buy it now, it's not super expensive. Certainly compared to the value you're going to get from that. I use actually one I would give a quick shout to is I use a plugin really heavily on our site and on other sites called Gravity Forms, which obviously is a forms plugin. That might not sound very exciting or sexy, but it does loads of cool stuff. And that's actually, you can do really, I think the basic version, which could work for this function, maybe $40 a year. And it will work for this function. You can set up a simple form, and then you can say on the form that on this form redirect here, on this form redirect here, and do a simple, redirect to thank you. Here is PDF on picking the best WordPress theme. So you could do it on different posts. And sorry, the form connects to MailChimp, or the form connects to whatever. So again, that's a really low cost way of doing it. I think it's like $40, and then to renew it, they do half price renewal. So it's probably not as sophisticated as some of those other things, but if we're talking about super low cost, it's really good. And it's a really good support behind it as well. They will email you back in minutes if you're stuck with something, which is very helpful. Oh,
that's good. Someone said, what was the previous one called Optimize? I think they're referring to Optimize Press. So yeah, even on your blog, if you've just, I reckon if you had a blog with a sidebar with a form in it versus a blog with a sidebar or a footer opt-in with just a banner that linked to a landing page, I reckon the banner that linked to an optimized press landing page is going to look better. It's probably going to convert better than having, an ugly, messy looking form there. So even if if you look at the WP Curve blog, you can see the little sidebar thing we do. You'll have to click on a post. You'll be able to see it. And this is with a little bit of HTML and a widget, and then we do it with lead pages. But if you can't get that level of sophistication, just literally a banner to a landing page, I think, is going to convert better than having like a massive sidebar that's got forms and name and email and asking to go on the email list. I just don't think anyone pays any attention to that stuff anymore. And the one we use on there is called, I think, like Q3 locking widget or something like that. So when you scroll down, it locks in place.
Yeah, I like that execution. It's definitely worked on me because I've definitely clicked it a few times.
We've got a question here. Are you familiar with Rainmaker? I'm familiar with it. Did you want to talk about? Do you know Rainmaker, Nick?
Yeah, I know pretty well. We've done some Rainmaker. We don't actually advertise that on the site, but we've had a few people hook us up for Rainmaker setups. So if people wondering what is Rainmaker, Rainmaker is it's basically a platform built on WordPress by they used to be called Copyblogger, and now they've actually renamed their company to Rainmaker. And it's the same company that owns StudioPress.com. They own like an SEO tool that's pretty cool. They own lots of stuff. So they have all these WordPress themes, and they basically brought it all together and stuck it under Rainmaker for, I think it started at like $100 a month. It's definitely gone up now. So the point of Rainmaker is, it's still, you use it, you can see it's WordPress at the core, but you can't install your own plugins. You can only choose from their themes and stuff like that. So you're limited on choices. What it does come with, it's got membership sort of software bundled in. It's got, you could sell digital download. It's got, if you want to do like a member only area, even a free one, it's got, what's it called? Learning management? Well, there's learning tools. So people can actually go on a course and, do answers.
Like LMS. Yeah,
LMS, that's it. And I think
even does like email marketing and CRM and stuff. I think
it started doing automation, like a buffer type thing as well. So it's probably a good choice. I mean, you're looking at easy $1,000 plus a year. So it's probably not a 7-day start, though. I'm sure they have like a 14-day trial. It's probably a good. I actually wrote an article, but if you Google my name and Rainmaker, I wrote it on not my blog, the Hackney Entrepreneur blog, and to try and answer that question, basically, like when should I go WordPress, when should I go Rainmaker? And it's like I said, it's probably good if your business is a bit more mature. You find WordPress a bit messy. You don't have like a regular developer. You want these particular features. It would probably work out way cheaper than hiring a developer and doing it all custom and getting all the plugin licenses and stuff. So yeah, I think if your business is a bit more mature, if you kind of good on marketing and stuff yourself, like know what you're doing, then it's an interesting option certainly.
I'm not bullish at all on Rainmaker. I just think you're taking a massive risk by putting all of your. It seems to me like you're effectively doing the opposite of what WordPress is about, which is you're giving up control and flexibility and handing that over, all of those functions, to one company. And there isn't really a good precedent for one company doing all of this stuff very well. I mean, the only example I can really think of where you've got a system that does a whole bunch of things pretty well would be Infusionsoft, but it's really not the best at any of the things it does. And if you're giving up all that control on your WordPress site of things like email marketing and memberships and, the actual theme, the plugin, like you mentioned before, you'd be nervous setting up Optimized Press using the theme because it locks you in. I mean, if you're setting up Rainmaker, you're losing a lot of control. So you want to be very, very confident that your business fits very neatly into the way they've designed the platform. And I don't know, I've had friends who've used the membership site of Rainmaker and haven't been super impressed with it. So I don't know. I remember when it came out, everyone was sort of saying, oh, this is just going to replace WordPress. And I didn't think it was going to at the time, and I still don't. And I haven't really seen any evidence to suggest that everyone's going to jump ship and go to it, because I think there is a fair amount of risk associated with doing that. Yeah,
I think it is for a pretty kind of sort of subset of marketers and stuff at the moment. And I think I'm a member of a Rainmaker group on Facebook, and there definitely is that kind of sweet spot for a certain group of people where it is a really, really good fit. But it's really, forget about it, 7-day startup, absolutely not. And I don't run any of my sites on Rainmaker either, so I still want that control.
And I think it's a personal preference. If they've got all the features you want, $100 a month is not a lot of money if you've got a real business, but you're also sort of saying that, you don't want to use things like Samcard, or you don't want to use a new membership plugin that comes out, or a new gateway or a new technique that Rainmaker may not have yet. And so there's a lot of innovation happening within WordPress that you're not going to be able to access if you use that platform. So I don't know. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. Does WordPress have a better platform for copywriters and freelancers? I'm not sure if we can answer that one.
I wasn't sure what they...
Not sure what you mean. Maybe ask that one again. Here's a question from Rafi. I'll bring that one up in the middle.
There we go. I'm going to layout test up and then find a theme that fits. Oh, that's a good question. Should I take that one? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it. So the question is, what do you find a theme and then lay out text? In an ideal world, I remember actually Noah Kagan, a guy at AppSumo, talking about this, and I think he had a meeting with Jason Fried, the guy behind Basecamp, and he said basically Jason sort of converted him to doing all copy and stuff first. He's just like, Basecamp are very known for their kind of web design, and it's not everyone's sort of preference, but I know they test this stuff a lot, so it must work. They're really heavy on, they don't even think about, they just do all copy and stuff first, then they think about layout, and then in their world, obviously they don't look for a theme, but if it was Basecamp, they would then look for a theme. It's that thing. It's that thing where you do want to launch. So I wouldn't. If we're just talking specifically 7-day startup here, like I said, if you get a theme and based on what we've spoken about and some of Dan's advice, this is a theme that's likely to convert well for you, then I think you could probably just massage your content into those blocks and it wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, definitely, like, for example, when Dan did his redesign process for WP Curve from scratch, I'm sure they went through, like thoughts about copywriting, user experience, user interface, all those things, do wireframes, and that's definitely a process that I've done, on sites for people. But yeah, I mean, if you can, it never hurts to articulate your offer and stuff and just write all that down. And then if you can do that quickly first, and then you've got a choice between 3 themes, you can see, this is going to fit my copy and stuff better, then why not? But I wouldn't kind of let it, I don't know if Dan would agree, but I wouldn't let it sort of cripple you at this stage.
Yeah, totally agree. Got a couple of questions sort of off the topic a little bit. I'll throw this question at you. I'm not sure I can really answer this one too well, but if you were a freelance copywriter, 7-day startup aside, if you're a freelance copywriter what web platform would be your preference? And then I asked them what they meant, and they said they mean what theme. So freelance copywriter, what theme? Can you answer that? I don't know if it really matters.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I had someone, we have a theme recommendations thing on our site where people can just send us a message, and I get back to them with a theme, sort of 2 or 3 options. And someone basically asked about the other day. I couldn't see who asked it, so I don't know if it's the same person. My answer to them was, it depends if you want to be kind of product and services first, or you just want to kind of show if you're writing first. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the best way to sell something is just to do something really well. And after a while, people go, oh, wow. I think, say, Tom Morks, who you had, who does the book marketing, I could just see that guy just executes well. I'm not doing a book, but now I know in my head that one day if I do a book, I'm sure it'll be the first person I call. So if you're a freelance writer, so the answer I gave to her was, if you kind of know your products and services you want to do, and you want that as the first thing that people will see, then pick like a product first theme, like the ones I described. And I gave a couple of recommendations, the same ones I gave to you guys. So if you're not really sure on your products and services yet, but your writing is super strong, pick a really nice, elegant, beautiful blog theme, and at least get people reading your content and stuff, and maybe signing up for your email list and stuff. And then later you can kind of maybe switch it. I can recommend, it depends, it's really personal preference. But I can recommend some super like minimal blogging themes if that's what, if that's kind of what the question is.
I think do that, because get specific. Because I've often had this same problem on my sites, trying to find a theme that really just wants to focus on the content and look nice and modern and professional.
Like I mentioned, StudioPress.com have some real, they have a lot of kind of what I call blog first themes. They're really minimal. Just if that's your style. We've got, I think the one on your site is quite popular for blogging. Again, disclaimer, it's the theme that I coded, but it's called Milton from my company leanthemes.co. It's kind of medium style, which is quite sort of popular. One strong image at the top.
It's exactly what I wanted. It was just really nice, beautiful images, nice, lots of white space, designed for people to actually read the content rather than sort of me to sell something. So you can see it on the blog, because it's not the 7 Days Starter homepage, but it's the blog. I'll put the link in there.
Theme. There you go. Yeah, I think I really like. I know I mentioned them a lot, but I think if you're just looking for like an elegant blogging theme. Oh, the other one I recommended, if you go pinkandpress.com, I think there's one called Author Theme or something like that. If you scroll and go to the themes page, they got some really nice. They got a lot of sort of product ones, but there was one that was a nice mix there, because it had a bit of a box at the top saying, "Hey, I'm a writer, opt in here." But then the rest of the page was just blog posts. It was a bit of a mix. If people want to email me afterwards or hit me up on the Facebook group, I'm nick@themevalet.com. So I probably have to do a couple a day, because I get inquiries for the site saying, "Hey, what theme?" So just send me an email direct. I'm more than happy to recommend themes and stuff. So, or hit me up on the Facebook group, even better, because then other people can see. Yeah, maybe that's better. Hit me up on the Facebook group, and other people can see the answers.
Yeah, that'd be the way to go. We should let you go. That's been an hour. We just had one more question. There was. Do you like Thrive themes? I've lost it here, but I think that was the question. Oh yeah, what do you think of Thrive themes?
Thrive themes. I've obviously heard of them. I haven't used them myself, so I can't give you some endorsement, I'm afraid. A couple of people I know are big fans of them, who I respect. So I would say, yeah, I don't have anything against them. I haven't actually played with it, so.
Yeah, I've heard it mentioned a few times. So they must be doing something right. We had do you need to take off right now? We had a couple of questions that weren't really related to the topic, but if you need to take off,
I can go as long as people want.
Right, cool. We'll just open it up to any questions you got. If it's not WordPress theme related, then just fire whatever questions you have at at Nick and I. I might end the recording here, and we'll leave the conversation on themes done. But that's been excellent, Nick. Lots for people to think about going to